What's up? Weekly Metal Reviews here. Tyler, Sam, with our very first concert review of 2013. It's been a while, a little bit since our last one. So, this tour consisted of the Brothers of Brutality tour, which is Whitechapel, Emmure, Unearth, The Plot New, and Obey the Brave. We saw this in Philadelphia at the Theater of Living Arts. It's been a while since we both have been there. So it was cool to be back there. But yeah, let's get started. The first band was Obey the Brave. If you don't know them, they're kind of more of a hardcore band from Canada, and they have one of the singers of Despised Icon, or Despised the Icon.
Shut up! I kept messing up because Obey the Brave, Despise the Icon. I kept messing up. I don't.
But anyways, so they were first.
I don't give no cares.
What do you have to say about Obey the Brave?
I'll try to put it in a nice way, cause like I don't want to offend anyone that likes this band or whatever. This is just my opinion. The whole time listening, right off from the start of the beginning of the start, their sound, I mean, I shouldn't be expecting like quality perfection, like, you know, sound from like the first band that comes up, which is usually the smallest band, but their sound just, it sounded bad. And like they would do this like in like two of their songs that sounded similar, but they would do this like lead type thing. It's just like really kind of short. The guitarist made it sound so bad, like it's like he could barely play it or something, and just the sound of it was just so like, it didn't even sound like or how it should, you know. It just sounded so awkward and misplaced and badly played. And furthermore, I feel I'm not the biggest fan of hardcore music anymore. I listen to the Ghost Inside. That's it, really. That is it. That's the only hardcore band I really listen to, just because they have a spot in my heart. But I feel like that band, Obey the Brave, is just another hardcore band to me, especially live. Yeah, you could look at it as an inspirational performance. You know, good lyrics, powerful lyrics, really strong lyrics that every hardcore band has, or melody that every hardcore band uses, or breakdowns that every hardcore band uses. That's all I saw it as. Every other hardcore band. I saw every hardcore band tonight. Just one band. That kind of says it to me, I guess. It's just my opinion, you know. But that has been weighing on me a lot recently, like hardcore bands, but I just didn't really enjoy them. I felt like, you know, I could listen to melody in the Ghost Inside. I could listen to those breakdowns in the Ghost Inside. I could listen to that mid-range type of vocal in the Ghost Inside, but, you know, it was just nothing new to me.
Like Sam said, he saw every hardcore band in one band tonight. I saw every hardcore band in one fucking song tonight. I, too, did not really enjoy this band. It felt like, kind of like Bullet for My Valentine's new album. Every song sounded the same. They would start off with maybe a breakdown, or it was either a breakdown or some really fast part with a high energy drum beat. And then they would go to a melodic chorus that literally sounded exactly the same every time. And then they would go to a breakdown that really has been overused and just was so boring and just has been overdone by so many bands all the fucking time. And then they would repeat. Every song sounds the same. Like Sam said, their sound was just off. I could not stand how the snare sounded. It just sounded so bad. It overpowered everything about the drums. You couldn't hear anything else about the drums but the snare, and it was fucking terrible. And the vocals. The vocals, I can understand, because this is the second last date of the tour. You're kind of worn out. You've been giving it your all for 20 nights in a row with only a day off every once in a while. You know, and you're worn out. But you're trying your best. I can understand that. But the past 2 days of this tour have been canceled due to the big snowstorm up in the Northeast. The vocals were so fucking bad, and you couldn't understand a damn thing he was saying, and he just sounded so out of breath. There was no longevity to his vocals. I just cannot enjoy this band. Hardcore is not really my cup of tea anymore. I used to be into it, but anymore, it's all the same to me. It's very redundant. And people might be like, well, you listen to metalcore or deathcore, that's all the same. And I completely disagree with that. And I would argue that metalcore and deathcore differ from band to band than hardcore. I mean, it's just, I can't get into this band. If I offend anybody, I'm sorry. If you like this band, power to you. Listen to this band all fucking day. Support this band. Buy their album. Buy their shirts. Do what you want. If you like this band, if hardcore is what you like, that's awesome. I'm not trying to change your opinion on how hardcore music is, and I'm not trying to get you to be more like me and have your view of hardcore music change. I just did not enjoy this band. It just seemed like everything was the same. It was just very boring, and I don't know. Next was The Plot in You.
This band was definitely better in my opinion than Obey the Brave, just because I didn't really care for Obey the Brave, but I didn't quite love The Plot in You. I've heard a lot of good things about this band, like, you know, that they're different, that they have their own style. In a way, they were definitely different on the tour, I guess. They really did have their own sort of style, but they still seem to fall into that category, you know, of mine with bands that are decent, that do something a little different, but it's still along the lines of something that's been done so many times. But this band, they're okay. They played alright. I don't really have too many complaints, you know. They sounded decent. They had a really heavy sound though. Their guitar sounded pretty good. It's just I guess maybe I would review an album that I would talk more about them as a band, but their live performance was definitely alright, I think. They had a decent live performance. Some people got into it, you know, they were kind of into it. It was a decent live performance. Just I'm not their biggest fan, I guess. Like I said, I could talk more about it in another video, but I just feel that, you know, there's a number of bands nowadays that don't, I'm gonna make another band pun here like I do sometimes. They don't stray from the path too much. Like, you know, they go a little bit off the line, but they're still symmetrical to the line. They don't stray away, and they don't, you know, do something completely innovative. Not that everything has to be completely innovative. It's just, you know, they have some groovy riffs that are alright, and some of their breakdowns are kind of they're okay, I guess. But it's nothing like, you know, nothing that truly impresses me, I guess. They're still an alright band, but that's really all I have to say. They didn't impress me. They were cool. You know, they were a good band for their slot, and they definitely filled their slot in the lineup, you know, an early on band, and they were cool to me, but nothing that, like, wowed me, I guess. Maybe that's just personal taste, but that's what I have to say.
I'm not going to drag on too much because Sam kind of said it all, really. But The Plot in You, they were okay. They were definitely more interesting than Obey the Brave because you could tell the songs apart. But this band is completely nothing new at all. But sometimes they had their moments where you could be like, wow, that's kind of neat. But then they were just like, I've heard this before so many times. The vocalist was kind of funny. He had a sense of humor, which was cool. It definitely helped their performance, if you ask me. I would have to say when it came, I don't know this band that well, but when it came to their songs, whenever they said they were going to play a song off their new album that came out sometime this year, I would say I was definitely more into those songs than their older songs. They played some song that was completely fucking weird, but I kind of liked it. But like I said, they had their moments, but then they were just kind of boring at times and just really, I've heard this type of feeling. I mean, they were okay. I'm not going to dwell on it too much, but if you like them, that's cool. So the next band was Unearth, and Unearth killed it. Go ahead.
Uh, they were the first metal, truly metal band that I've seen in a while. What is metal? It's headbanging. It's running around on stage, having fun. The one guitarist with long hair had a smile on his face so much, and he just looked like a goofy idiot and just making dumb faces when he's headbanging. And Trevor Phipps was windmilling and air guitaring and stuff, and they just looked like they were having the time of their life. The drummer was just, headbanging, having fun and stuff, and it's like a true good metal band, and they could really just beat you up, and then, still have fun. Like, some parts were so that you're like, oh, that's metal, that's good metalcore. Where some bands just kind of jump up and down to the side, or, do that whole, like, gangster type thing where they shuffle their shoulders around during a breakdown, trying to act all cool, like the Despise the Icon vocalist, who's all like, yeah, kind of has like a wigger type thing going on. That's my thing on it. I don't like that. That's just me though. I don't like that whole like rap kind of thing that some bands have the image of. But this is like a true metal band. You think of Anthrax, you think of Megadeth, you think of like headbang, some metal, some like, good ass, the thrash, badass side of metalcore, not the new metalcore, the badass side of metalcore. This band definitely killed it. They had good riffs. And they played, what was it, My Will Be Done.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that song. It's definitely one of my favorite. I think that's the only song they played off the March, and just damn to hear that lead,
Yeah, he nailed it.
He nailed it, and that's like the lead. That's the how there's like a player of the game in sports. That was the lead of the whole concert. It was just the band truly killed it. They had fun with it. All their songs nailed, spot on. The guitarist with short hair that did the clean singing, perfect. Like, I can't really say that. I could say that very few times in my life, that a band did something that was perfect. His singing was perfect. It sounded perfect. Like, usually bands will be like, yeah, I mean, that didn't sound really, spot on, but hey, it's live, so, you kind of have to adjust, but he nailed it. Their guitars nailed it. The snare was one of the best things. The snare was one of the highlights, of my whole week. Like the snare, and just, every crushing breakdown, every Unearth crushing breakdown that just, just and this picks you up and slams you back into the ground, and then they beat you and beat you, then they pick you up and slam you back in the ground. Like, that's just how I feel about it. And it hits so hard and so perfectly, and live, they just had such a, commanding presence, and they really seemed like veterans. Like, they seemed like the big cheese of the tour. Like, they knew what they were doing. They came out and they just kicked ass. Like, it's the best, most exciting band I've seen in such a long time. Such a long time. They're definitely band of the night. For me, that's saying something, because I like Whitechapel a lot. They were the band of the night. They absolutely just blew me away. First time ever seeing that band, and they just, I have a completely new respect for them. Not that I didn't respect them before, it's just like, damn. D-A-M-N.
Unearth to me wins MVP, most valuable band. It's not funny.
No.
That was stupid. But I agree with Sam. Unearth just completely murdered everybody and demolished everybody's face. And one thing I'm gonna say first is I never knew I knew the drummer was talented, but I never knew how talented he really was until I saw him tonight. And he was just doing some crazy fucking shit that I honestly have never seen before in a drummer. Like, I can't, I don't play drums, so I can't really, like, if I tried to explain what I saw from him, I would just look like a fucking idiot. So I'm not really going to try. I'm just saying he has an incredible amount of talent. Like, when you think Unearth, you think their guitar players are phenomenal, but their drummer is just as phenomenal as their guitar players. So he killed it, but the guitar players, they nailed it too. This band had so much life to them. You watch Whitechapel, and Whitechapel, they beat your face in the whole time, but they don't really fucking move. They all just stand there. They all have their zones, and they don't move. They don't really interact with each other. These guys, they had smiles on their faces. They had life. They were moving. I mean, there was one part where the guitar players played a harmony or something. They came up and they were like making faces with each other, and like they were right next to each other, and just they were putting on a show, which is what some bands just lack nowadays. Sometimes, you know, they don't put on a show. They just stand there and they execute their music, which, you know, that's cool, you know. But sometimes you just want to see a band put on a show, and that's what Unearth really did tonight. And it just sounded phenomenal with everything. And their set was short, but it was so good. They played older songs off of The Oncoming Storm. They played Giles. They played Eyes of Black, which is probably one of my favorite songs. And they played Watch It Burn. I'm not sure what they opened with. I have to look that up. But I knew the song, I just didn't know the name of it. But they killed it. They had a great set, and the guitar players just nailed everything. One thing I loved is when you think Unearth, one of the things that comes to your mind is their harmonies. How their guitar harmonies are just phenomenal, and they get stuck in your head. I love how they played, both guitar players played the harmonies, and they had a rhythm backing track. Sometimes a band will just have one guitar player play the harmony and the other one plays the rhythm. And it just kind of sounds not fulfilling at all. This just sounded fulfilling. They killed it. They had so much life. When they played one of their breakdowns or something, they weren't doing the what newer bands do today, where they're foot stomping and jumping around, jumping up and down, turn to their side, use like their fucking guitars or guns or something, you know. They're not doing that shit. You know what they're doing? They're headbanging. I just think it was really cool. They had so much life to them. And, you know, Trevor sounded phenomenal. Everything just sounded phenomenal about this band. I think when it comes down to the end of 2013, when I'm compiling my list of some of the best performances I've seen in 2013, Unearth's going to be right up there. I know it, and this is only the first show that we've been to in 2013. So Unearth killed it, and so the next band was Whitechapel. I guess Emmure and Whitechapel are like, since this is a co-headlining tour, they alternate, and this night was Emmure's night to headline. Thank God it was. So yeah, Whitechapel.
I like to think that I am an idiot, but I will make 1 to 2 good points of video. Sometimes just one, but I feel like I'm about to make a point here, if I say it right. Whitechapel is a boring band live. Don't get me wrong on that. Their music, they will impress you. They will be brutal. They will be crazy. You will definitely enjoy them. Like Tyler said, to elaborate on it a little bit more, like, I agree with him. They each have their zones. Every time I've seen this band, Ben Savage, far left, Zach Householder, Phil Bozeman, Gabe Crisp, Alex Wade, and their drummers in the back. They rarely move. Phil Bozeman will do some type of weird spider crawl thing up front where he's just like moving around really slowly, but that's it. Little to no interaction. Sometimes Phil did a decent job this time, you know, saying, "Hey, move," but you get that from every band. It's just, there was one hell of a reaction tonight, but this band, they it disappoints me a little bit. It disappointed me this time. Never before, because the previous 4 times I've seen them, I've kind of failed to notice. I've been too enticed by their brutality and their coolness, because I've always been into this band. But just watching them tonight, it's just they move around very little. Every time I've seen this band, it's just they don't really move, and they could have such a powerful set if they would move around, like, during possession or something, just run around like idiots, and they could still play and stuff. But just every time, same lineup and everything, it bothered me a little bit, to be frank. And it really makes a show when a band like Unearth will interact, will move, like watching After the Burial, watching Trent make stupid faces, and watching Justin play the guitar behind his back and having fun with it. This band just doesn't seem to have fun with it, and that bothers me. I don't know why it bothers me so much, but it just bothers me that they don't have fun with it. And I feel like an emphasis is being put on Phil Bozeman, whereas all the band members are in the back. I'm not sure if this is how it actually works, but all the band members are kind of back a little bit, and Phil Bozeman, the light's always shining on him, and he's always up front. Is he the biggest member of the band? Not physically, because he's kind of little, but, popularity, yes. But I want to see everyone in that band just move, and that's the problem. That's my biggest disappointment with them. It put a damper on it, The crowd went crazy, absolutely nuts when they started with the Somatic Defilement. Yeah, they played 3 songs off their first album, but it bothered me, and I really needed to get that out. It just move a little, run around, act like an idiot, have fun, I know those guys can't be that, bland, but that's the only thing, They didn't even seem that angry, It's not like they were all happy running around, but they didn't seem that, like, angry either. Like, they kind of were just mellow. They came on mellow the whole time. The crowd kind of, took responsibility and moved around and stuff, but they seemed so mellow and just kind of flat. Their sound was beefy. They sounded loud. They sounded heavy. They sounded so great. Perfect instrumentally, pretty much near perfect instrumentally. I guess perfect, because I can't really think of anything wrong, You just it's kind of a standard for them to be perfect, so I can't really say too much about that. Phil Bozeman, lastly I want to talk about Phil Bozeman, something about his vocals. He did this thing where he he has his normal sound, but he kind of emphasized some vowels. Like, he kind of had this, like, deep E kind of twist on some words, where, he's all like, ah, and sometimes he'd be like, ee, and, like, not like a pig squeal, but that kind of sound of a pig squeal, like E kind of emphasis on that vowel, like the E, he would kind of do that, and, like, a lot of fluctuation in his vocals to begin with. Like, he really kind of experimented a little bit, it seemed. It was kind of cool. He still hit those really lows. He did quite a few more highs. He really gave it his all, but I feel, not that it's a bad thing. I definitely appreciate him for giving it his all, but, the last, like, song or two, he kind of sounded a little bit shot. He still finished out the concert. He may have had air running low in his tire, but he still finished the race. But, he did sound a little shot towards the end, but he still finished it very strongly. Some of the experimentation, I feel, was kind of cool, but some of it was, a little weird. But overall, I enjoyed them, but it was just, I feel it was also kind of hard to follow up Unearth. But that's really my review of Whitechapel. Don't take anything I say like they suck. It's just, they gave a very flat performance, but you know, what you heard was good, what you saw was kind of flat. But that's really all I have to say.
Um, Whitechapel was good. I mean, it's Whitechapel. It's if you've seen Whitechapel before, you know, that's how they kind of were. And you might be like, well, why has he seen him 5 times and why have you seen him 6 times? Because I fucking love Whitechapel. I mean, like Sam was saying, how they're boring to watch, but they're so fun to listen to live. Like they perform their music to perfection. I mean, they sounded so fucking good tonight. And me and him were kind of towards the back a little bit, and you could just hear everything perfectly, and it was phenomenal. I thought the best part about their performance was their set. They started with the Somatic Defilement and they ended with their self-titled. Like they went through, they played 3 songs off of Somatic Defilement, they played 3 songs off of This Is Exile. I think they only played 2 off of A New Era Corruption, and then they ended with 3 songs off of their self-titled. I thought that was cool. It was kind of like their musical progression and all that stuff. And they kind of played the biggest hits from all those albums. I thought that was a really smart move on their part. Instead of just mixing them up, I really enjoyed that. It was cool hearing a few songs. I don't think I've ever heard them play the Somatic Defilement, which that was just really awesome to hear. They nailed that song, and I haven't heard Breeding Violence or Eternal Refuge in a really long time either, seeing them. So that was very, very cool to see. Phil Bozeman he was on fire for almost the entire set, like Sam said. Like, some of his lows just made me cream. They were so brutal and guttural and just, they ate you alive. They were phenomenal. I love how he just went on there and he just went on stage and he just plowed through everything and he just really, really gave it 150%. So that was cool, and like I said, they performed their music well. They put on a good show. I'm not saying I'm disappointed by them, but I wasn't blown away like when we saw them with Hatebreed. They just completely annihilated. But this was just a solid performance. It wasn't anything that was phenomenal. I mean, if you like Whitechapel, definitely go see them many times, one time, however fuck many times you want to see Whitechapel, because they put on a good show. They just need to move a little bit. I felt like at first it was kind of like I was thinking it was kind of like when I saw Mastodon, when there was no crowd interaction at all, and they didn't say anything till like the 4th or 5th song, which I thought that was just kind of weird because they never really are like that at all. But yeah, I mean, Whitechapel put on a good show, so Sam kind of alluded to everything that I feel. So yeah. Emmure headlined, we left. So if you like Emmure, I'm sorry, sorry we left. I hope Emmure was awesome. I think we'll cut the video right here. Do you have any thoughts on Emmure?
I feel like there's one last thing I want to say about Whitechapel, but I'm not sure what it is. They were good. They were good, I was looking for something more, but they were good. I guess my expectations were, something that wasn't exactly met, but they were good. So, I mean, I know I complained a little bit, but they were still good. They're still one of my favorite bands of all time, and, it's just, they're so big, and they're so popular, and they could get up there, and they could really sway the crowd to do whatever the hell they tell them to do. Yeah, when they came up and they played the Somatic Defilement, and people were screaming the words, that whatever song it is, You Will Never Fuck Again, I swear every person in there yelled that. They could sway the crowd to do whatever, whenever. They could tell them to beat each other senseless, and they would. But they're so mellow. It's cool, I guess. They're not jerks. They kind of have nice, modest attitudes, but sometimes you just want to see a band get up there and, kick ass. I haven't seen that since, I don't remember when. Aside of Slipknot and Iron Maiden, the really big bands, like a nice show, probably welcome to hell when I saw the Acacia Strain. I remember Vincent like told everyone, you know, to kick each other's ass, and it was scary as hell, and everyone kicked each other's ass. And, you know, it was damn awesome. And, you know, they got into it. They running around, Vincent running back and forth, you know, just like a fucking turkey that's balding, you know? And Whitechapel just comes up this time, and as big as they are, they don't take advantage of that. They don't move around. They don't put on that bam, lights and show. They just stand there like, and Gabe Crisp does that same, you know, thing all the time, headbangs like that. And the lights are flashing, you know, and it's brutal. But sometimes you just want something that's just, you know, some action. I just want a nice, some action for them, you know. That's all I want. And it's just, it's, you know, that's all I want from them. I want them to put on one hell of a show. And they do that musically, but they stand there. I know there's a bunch of people on stage. Who needs 3 guitars? Oh, sorry about the 3 guitarists on stage not being able to move around because there's too many guitarists. But they still need to just, you know, move a little bit. Run back and forth. You know, like Rich. They just need to do that whole running up thing, you know? But I don't know. It just bothers me. It's one of my pet peeves, and I'm going on too long about this, so you probably stopped watching by now, but if you're still watching and listening to me complain, thank you, but it just bothered me. But that's all. That's all I have to say.
Sam wants somebody to have sex with him, and they're not doing it. So, for Jim and the Motor, the Brothers of Brutality tour was cool. Thanks for watching this video. It was long. Bye.